Hello, my name is Stewart Webb, editor and senior analyst at DefenceReport.com. Today, we'll be talking to Professor Walter Dorn from the Royal Military College of Canada and the Canadian Forces College in Toronto. Walter and I had written an article for Defense Report 7 years ago. We collaborated on an academic paper 5 years ago about this. And Walter has taken the lead and created the first digital peacekeeping training simulator. Hello, Walter. How are you?
Hey, all right. Good to be with you, Stuart. It's always great to remember those early days when you had an idea and we published something in 2018 in your defense report, and with just an idea in our minds, and the vision has become reality.
Yeah, no, it's been great actually watching it. I had to take a step away from the project because just got busy with having a new family. But to introduce Walter a bit more, he's actually an operational scholar, and he's taught officers from dozens of countries around the world. Served on the UN expert panel for technology and innovation in peacekeeping. Participated in field missions and assisted in international organizations as well. Walter, I was wondering if you want to talk more about you being an operational scholar, because that's definitely something the people listening haven't heard before.
Yeah, I use the term operational scholar or operational professor just to indicate that I like to go on operations. I like to serve in the field. I like to be in international organizations. So it's brought me to various peacekeeping operations, such as in Lebanon and in Golan Heights and in Africa and Central African Republic and Congo and Mali. So being out on those missions it gives me a sense of what it's really like to be on operations. So it's not just an ivory tower academic, but to be an operational professor means that I'm someone who deploys.
And also probably teaching officers from various countries too also probably gives you a little more insight of what's happening as well.
Yeah, so I teach at the Canadian Forces College, and I've done that for now 22 years. And I've always found that the international students provide so much value to the college and to my own education. They come from Africa and Asia and the Middle East and Latin America, and I've just I've found that they have a lot of peacekeeping experience. They've also bring their domestic views and the insights and their expertise in their region. So the international students are really a source of education for me as a professor. And I sometimes joke that I don't need to go out in the world because the world comes to me, meaning that the internationals come in from all around the world and they're bringing their own flavor. So we do really have an international spirit with about 20 to 30 countries at any one time at the college.
Awesome. So let's talk about the peacekeeping simulator training simulator. Now, you finally uploaded the first version of it onto the website, correct?
Yes, we originally had a downloadable version and we had it on a Google Drive, and I would give people access to it and they could download it and then play it.
No, it's definitely amazing how you've taken it from just a academic construct to what it is now. And I remember going to that Google Drive and downloading it, and my wife asked me what I'm doing, playing another video game, and I'm like, no, I'm doing research.
And then we realized that we could do a WebGL, that's Web Graphics Library version. And the WebGL version could be playable directly on the internet, so you don't even need to download it, which means that there's much less concern about any viruses and that sort of thing. As soon as you download, you want to be sure that there's no viruses. But now that you can play it on a browser itself on any computer, it makes it much more accessible to people around the world. And we also had to make it playable by people who have very poor internet connections. So we do have a downloadable version from the website being Peacekeeping Sim.net. That's www.peacekeepingsim.net. And at that website, there's a way to play it and to download it. So we have both versions. And we're very happy that after, some, well, you said 8 years since we had the original idea, and then in 2000, while I was on sabbatical at the United Nations in New York, I proposed to the United Nations a simulation that would deal with protection of civilians. And the UN said that use of force in peacekeeping was a bit controversial. So they would prefer if I did something less controversial, like investigation. So I took the UN training materials, or they actually gave me the UN training materials, and did a sample of what an exercise would look like. And then we digitized that and made it into gamified version. So we made it into a game that you can actually play, in which your avatar is a peacekeeper instead of a warfighter. You're playing a peacekeeper who's looking at a typical African conflict. Now it's in the current theme that the UN uses. The scenario is called Karana. We have to use the Karana scenario to take this exercise and make it into a game.
Yeah, no, I'll make sure that the website is in the show notes and also the link to the DefenceReport article and also the academic paper that we wrote for international peacekeeping. No, and going back to Karana, um, some of the things that you can do are to find out who committed a massacre, who find the location of kidnapped school children, and then the one thing I really love is that you can draw your conclusions, and then you have to write the report, and then that's how your performance is graded.
Right. So you can play it over and over again. I know that my students in my peace operations course, they like to play it over to get the higher scores.
Yeah.
But you can also learn, like one Kenyan student told me that she learned from pursuing different avenues, which were not the ones that give you the highest score, but sometimes by taking the wrong routes, you actually learn more. So the whole idea is that it's not a linear path, but that you can learn the scenario, you can learn what the UN procedures are, what the UN bodies are, and the different ways of interacting. So it's 6 scenes where you start off with an induction briefing. You've chosen your avatar. You're now a UN military observer. You're getting introduced to the mission by the chief military observer. Then after that, you have a one-on-one meeting with the chief military observer in your team site, which is in one part of Corona. And then you have to go out of the UN camp. You go outside the wire and you come across a checkpoint. Well, how do you interact at the checkpoint? What kind of dangers do you have, and what kind of responses can you have to a hostile checkpoint? And then you actually get to the village where the atrocity was committed. You look at the site of the atrocity. You look for clues. It's done a lot like a murder mystery that you have to discover where the problems are, and where that it's not quite as simple as it might seem at first. And so you have to dig deeper in order to figure out who did what. And the evidence will take you to a cave, and in the cave you'll see one of the attackers, and he'll tell you a little bit about why he attacked, and what happened to some of the people who were in the attack. And then you do as you say, you write up your report in a UN style, and you're filling out the report with multiple choice and with true and false questions. And some pictures are included there that you've taken during the visit. And then we give the results, and we show you which of your multiple choice and which of your true false questions are right, and you get an eventual score for both your field performance and the report itself.
Now you've had to build an entire team to do this as well, right? I mean, now I
Yeah.
think you've got upwards to 10 people on your team.
At one point, we were reaching 10. Now we have about 4. But it
Okay.
ebbs and flows depending on the needs. So we've completed this game. Now we're working on another one, which is the demining. So you're actually come to a minefield. You see that there are people who need to be rescued from the minefield. How do you do the mine clearance in order to rescue these people? So that's the kind of scenario that we have now. And we're trying to use the UN training materials.
Okay. And now we're talking about mines, we're also talking about probably IEDs as well, and to some degree.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you
So
you
mines
probably
and
had to reach
energies,
to
right? Both.
sorry.
Both, yeah, yeah. The scenario involves both the mines, landmines, and IEDs, because disarming one is very similar to disarming the other.
Yeah. Now the the Avatar has to demine as well, or
Yeah, so the avatar has motions. They have a metal detector, a ground penetrating radar. They have to discover where the mine is, and they have to look for clues on the ground. It will tell them where the mine is, and then they have to do prodding action to be able to discover where precisely the mine is, how deep it is, and they have to actually use a prodder to figure out where it is, and then they have to use a device to take the mine out of the ground, and they have to defuse it, and then they have to eventually blow it up. So it's all part of the regular demining process. And then we're linking that to a larger story and linked somehow to Karana in the same way as the previous one. So it's linked to UN training materials.
okay. Now, how big do you envision the entire project to be? You said you have
Well,
six areas.
we're releasing them as individual games. So we'll do one. The first one is PKS1, Peacekeeping Simulation 1, and it's called Investigating Atrocity, UN Military Observers in Karana. And then the second one will be a demining scenario. We don't have a title yet, but it'll be something of a similar title. And we would like to do one on technology in peacekeeping. How do you do monitoring? How do you see an attack is coming? Some attackers, and you've got to detect them with everything from UAVs to night vision devices, and detect them before they attack your camp and the adjacent IDP camp, that's internally displaced persons camp. And you want to have use good awareness of technology. So that's one of the things we're teaching in that simulation. And we have other ones too. One of the missions in the Middle East asked us to look at the scenario that they have in the Golan Heights. So we were starting to model that, and we've got various potential projects, but the challenge is to find the funding, because the simulation is cost upward of $250,000 so far, and I need to find funding to be able to pay for the script writing team and the development team. The software developers are doing a great job, and I like to pay them decently. The artificial intelligence has made things a lot easier and faster, but we still need those people with the skills.
Of course. And, obviously you've probably reached out to the Canadian government to help fund, and the Department of National Defense to help fund the project. Has the UN been able to finance anything?
No, it hasn't funded it. It provided me with the initial simulation. It's encouraged me along the way. And there was a strong indication that they would like to use this in their training of trainers courses. So I'm, still working to finalize all of that. And in the meantime, other governments have started to use it in their own peacekeeping training. So about half a dozen countries which have used the simulation in courses.
Okay. No, you did allude that the simulation has been used in your courses at the Canadian Forces College. Do you think the Canadian government's going to, in the Department of National Defense, utilize that for their peacekeeping training?
It's possible. I met with the head of the Peacekeeping Training Center in Kingston, and he was definitely interested in the possibilities of using it in their unmanned UN military observer training. So I think it's quite possibly used at the PSTC, that's Peace Support Training Center in Kingston.
Okay. Now, getting the collection of programmers and everything else like that, I mean, that must have been have some difficulty for you to do that, to get everyone on board and
Yeah, it
find
was a
the
challenge. I
appropriate
mean,
talent.
I had to do this on a professor's budget, which is not a lot. I was giving my own personal development allowance and my research funds towards this project, and my travel funds were going towards this project. And so I scrounge up $10,000 here, $10,000 there, and I ended up using a lot of student help. People are doing their capstone projects in their third or fourth year of their game design or game programming programs at different universities around Toronto and colleges. And because of that student help, it all became possible to do with minimal funding. Originally, I was told that if I would go to a company like Ubisoft, it would cost me millions of dollars to make something. And so I had to find the developers at a much cheaper level. And I had some who've stayed with me for now 3, 4 years, and I'm really appreciating that their dedication to it and their work. And they've also expanded with the different technologies, including artificial intelligence.
Yeah, no, I remember those early days. We were even talking about trying to put it on Steam and try to get some money through that. And of course, business accounts and taxes and whatever else, it just didn't really seem feasible. And the
Yeah,
main objective
we
also
still are
was to,
planning to go that the first simulation investigating atrocity is available for free for anyone in the world. The next one we would actually like to put it on Steam or some other site so that they could we could actually get some revenue for the project, and that can help fund future students to work on the project.
fair enough. Well, Walter, thank you very much for joining us today. This is our first full podcast, so I'm hoping that you can join us later and talk about the development of the peacekeeping simulation as it goes forward, and just all the quirks of trying to develop it.
Yeah, sure. I really enjoyed talking to you, Stewart, and I'm really at your disposal to talk about the simulation or other subjects relating to defense, Canadian defense, or the Ukraine war, or other subjects that are really much preoccupying me these days. And I pay tribute to your creativity and your inspiration for when we started this entire project in 2018. The idea of having a not a war fighting game, but a peacekeeping game. That was a original idea, and we made it into reality.
Oh, and maybe we'll talk about another one of our creative ideas before about cyber peacekeeping, if ever that's ever going to happen, right?
Sure, that's a great idea to talk about. Yeah,
But definitely, you're going to be a regular guest on this podcast, and thank you very much, Walter, for everything.
my pleasure.
And it's
Stuart, all the
always a
best.
pleasure working with you.
Thank you. At your service.
All right, take care, Walter.
Bye for now.
Bye.